What's going on, guys? Just doing a little herd check here today. Got them in a less desirable spot in the pasture because of all this rain we just got, and I don't want to do that to some of my best spots in the pasture. This is going to get reseeded this fall anyway, so I'm going to have them come in here, hit it hard, graze what they can. I'll unroll a bale, get a little organic matter in this spot, so they'll have today and tomorrow between what they got here and that bale that I'll put out for them tomorrow. And then we'll get back on some good stuff because the ground's going to start firming up by Thursday. This is a Tuesday right now, but I wanted to show this calf right here. This is the second or third, I think the second calf. Two of them came almost at the same time. All three heifers. That's her mama there with the big white butt. But this little girl came out, she looked black, but I will say I'm partial to that chestnut red. And if you can see, she's getting just a little bit of that red shining through, and man, is it pretty. Unfortunately, she lived on the hairy side, but that makes sense because her mama has got some hairier miniature genetics in her. And she was a calf we bought a dairy cow a couple years ago, and we wanted it as a cow-calf pair so we could calf share. If you guys never had a family dairy cow and you're considering it, I just simply wouldn't do it unless you have a calf at her side. It just made life so much easier. I won't want to get into that here, but anyway, we ended up with a heifer calf, and she's in our herd, and we gave her an opportunity just like everybody else, get bred or feed us. And she did. She got bred. She grew really well for the small genetics she had. The mama there, who's now a cow, she was a heifer, has just really sized up way more than I expected when we got her. She's already bigger than her mother, and she was rich. Her daddy supposedly was a like a miniature white park, so did not expect anything size-wise out of her. Been pleasantly surprised. She's got a good little size calf now. Little on the hairy side. We want that slick hide. We want that. You can see they're just slicking off. See that red one right there? She's starting to slick off on her neck. She's losing that winter coat. I kind of feel bad for him. I don't got him a good scratching post. We're doing this total grazing, and there's not a real need for shade right now, so I'm saving my wooded areas before they go in and destroy it, and just trying to save that for when it's really needed in the summertime. But I got a feeling some of these girls would really like to scratch that winter coat off right now. So if anybody out there doing a mobile grazing high density program has somewhat of a solution for that, as far as just a rubbing post or something that you bring along with them as you go, interested to see what you guys think. Consider putting something. Eventually this is going to be our alleyway all the way down this, right? And I want to have trees. I want to do kind of steal something from Permaculture, from Stefan Subkowiak, and do trios where we've got either a thornless honey locust or a black locust or a rosebud or some other type of legume tree that's fixing nitrogen. One of those, and then a nut tree, and then a nut tree, and then one of those, and then maybe a hackberry and maybe a maple. Maples really aren't doing a lot for us. There's not a lot of food production that comes off of them, but they are providing shade. And then another legume, right? So the idea is that every nut, every food producing tree has a nitrogen fixer next to it. And anyway, that would be all the way down this line, but trees are not an overnight project. And we're trying to put all of our money into getting grass established and getting our herd established right now. So I know the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is yesterday. But unfortunately for us, it's probably another year out. Probably not this fall of 26, but probably the fall of 27. And when we plant them though, buddy, look out. I plan on having one row all the way down this alley, and then I'm asking way too much out of your guys' eyes and this camera. All right, so at this point in the video, I start talking about some stuff that is really hard to explain, and I ask way too much of you guys as viewers to just look out over this vast landscape and understand what I'm talking about. So I wanted to edit in here a little piece from Google Earth and kind of explain what we've got going on and some of our intentions for our property. So if I zoom out a little bit here, the orange line is our property line, and this rectangle here that's my mouse is following in particular, that's our main 80-acre farm that we originally purchased. So let me get this view being right over top. So if we just look at this, in this video, I'm standing right about here, okay? This pink box is where we intend on putting our primary hay shed and corral and winter feeding and our working system. Everything is going to be right here. So everything's going to kind of function off of this point. This is also our main point of access from this driveway, and we come across our bridge. So everything kind of happens off of here. In total grazing, a lot of people run their alleyways right down the center of their farm. We are deciding against this because I don't have all these white lines. These are our contour lines. So that means they tell they're on level basically. And I don't have a contour map to bring in, so I literally just followed the mouse, and you can't see it in this video, but on Google Earth it'll tell you the elevation of wherever your mouse is at. So for instance, this line here is at 436 feet. This line here is at 437, 438, 439, and looks like 441. I skipped 2 feet for that one. So whenever you see the lines slope out like this, you're seeing a ridge top. When you ever see them slope in like this, you're seeing a valley or a low point or a ditch or something like that. So you can kind of see how our farm kind of does this, right? So not unlike most landscapes, there's ridges and valleys, ridges and valleys. Well, this section through here is the lowest point in the entire property. It cuts right through the center. So if we were ever in a situation and we had our alleyway down the center of the farm, correct, and this is high ground over here, and granted, I didn't run these contour lines all the way out, so you're not seeing contour lines in this corner and up in here, so bear with me, but just know that this is high ground and this is high ground, kind of catty corner ends of the property. But if we ever needed to graze over in this corner on this high ground, and we needed to get the animals back to the corral for anything, and if it was wet, I mean, it would be a nightmare running down an alley through this area. This could just be a complete mud pit. So we decided instead, since our property is only, a quarter mile across, we are going to run our alley around our perimeter, since this is mostly high ground. Now we do dip. If you're following my mouse right here, we hit a low point, right? And if you follow my mouse again, right here, we hit another low point. And you follow my mouse again, right here, we hit another low point. Those are going to be causes of concerns, but I think we can eliminate a lot of the concern there. Maybe put some hay down, put some bedding down, put something where they're not going to totally tromp through, or it'll at least be minimal. It'll only be a few points instead of the entire alleyway. So I'm going to start describing our intent for putting in shade trees and talking about key lines and contour lines. And now that I've kind of outlined, our property a little bit, I wanted to explain this. So our intent is to plant trees along our alleyway, mostly because we're already going to have a fence running here. So we've got our perimeter fence that follows this orange line. Then 30-foot inset off of that, we'll have our interior fence that runs along it. So we'll have a 30-foot alleyway. That's this purple line that goes around our entire property. So when you plant trees, you want to keep them protected. So we're going to utilize electric fence. So wherever we've got interior fence running is a great spot to plant some trees for us, just from a mere standpoint of protecting them. And the cattle are always going to have access to this alleyway. And if there's trees along the alleyway, they'll always have access to some shade eventually. So that's the thought process and where to put these. So we're going to have trees, and we'll be doing, like I said, the intention is to do like a permaculture concept with planting the trees in trios along here, and hopefully we can share some content with you on what that is. But then I start talking about key lines versus contour lines. So again, the white is contour. A key line is where you switch from a ridge to a valley. So when we're concave, I think I'm doing this right, we're at a ridge, and when we're convex, we're at a valley. So right where the ground switches, in this case, right here, where they get really close together, that's a key line. And then again, right here, that's a key line. And then again here, it's a key line. A lot of folks in grazing will run their interior lines along those key lines. And I explained in the video, a reason for that is you can better manage your property from a moisture standpoint if you can segregate those lands, because this area in this low point is going to be wet while this area is going to be drier, right? So you can manage your cattle and keep them out of the wet areas when it's too wet and graze the ridges. Or if you're going through a dry spell and maybe the ridges haven't fully recovered, but the low spots have because there's more moisture, you can graze them in there. So you can better manage your property that way. So I can foresee a situation where we have interior fencing, maybe even permanent interior fencing at some point that follows some of these main key lines. So, and then again, wherever I'm running an interior fence, I would love to be planting some trees as well, because we can more easily protect those trees by running a hot wire around them when the cattle are coming through, or protect them from deer by running a hot wire around them. So that, I think, is pretty much everything I dive into in this section. I apologize, it gets a little boring. You're going to hear some of this stuff a little more redundant here, but I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get something out of it. We really have enjoyed learning more about permaculture, and there's not many people implementing some of these permaculture principles on a commercial scale with cattle and grazing operations, and definitely not in lands that the moisture is more of a concern because there's too much of it, excess moisture like we have. A lot of people are implementing things such as swales and keyline design and landscapes that need to retain more moisture. So we're in a little bit of a special case, but nonetheless, the principles apply, and I think they can really help us. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video right now. But this ground follows kind of the contour lines kind of go like this, right, all the way around. There's like a big bowl out there in the middle. And again, another thing in permaculture they talk about are key lines. And contour lines are level. Hopefully you guys know what contour lines are. That's just a line that follows level all the way across your property. A key line is not necessarily level, but it's where the ground, if you were to look at my fingers, so if you look at my fingers and they were down like this, the creases in between my fingers, like in between my fingers where my fingers come together, they aren't level, they're sloped this way. But if you were to pour water on my hand, the water would run down those points. It's where the ground changes from concave to convex. It creates a key line, and that's where the water wants to go, right? Well, as I've talked about probably ad nauseum, water is a main concern on this property. There's a lot of water that comes through here, and we got soil that wants to stay wet. So management of our herd highly revolves around water and the excess of it. Sure, in July and sometimes we will have a drought. The last couple of falls have been very dry, and then we'll have to manage for that. But for the most part, we are looking to get water infiltrated into the soil, isolate it into certain spots, and either, I hate saying get the water off of our ground, but my gosh, we really got a lot of water that comes through, and we need to get it off the ground. We cannot let it sit. So anyway, keyline design is you follow those key lines, and I like that idea as far as setting up our paddocks and our shade trees. And instead of grazing through those valleys, like I've talked about with this swale and the fence that we've got going through it, instead of grazing through them, graze off of them. So the cattle aren't going down in them, aren't having to always constantly pass through them. They go up to them and then they get out. And that's one benefit. The other benefit is too, moisture really drives regrowth, and you're gonna get, you wanna graze kind of a uniform growth, right? And if you are grazing a high spot and a low spot at the same time, well, the high spot might not be ready and the low spot might be ready, or vice versa. If it was wet, the low spot might still be recovering from a little bit too much moisture, getting a little drowned, and that high spot took off. You can graze a more consistent forage. You can put a better plate out in front of your cattle, in my opinion, if you're following kind of some of those keyline structures. I think it's what's going to work for us. So back to the trees, back to the scratching post. Eventually, our gals are going to have trees that they'll never be. In a perfect world, I can put them in any quarter-acre paddock, and there'll be no quarter-acre paddock on this property that doesn't have a tree in it, for shade and for rubbing against, and for a lot of those trees that I just listed are going to provide some sort of forage for them throughout the year. They're going to help absorb some of that water. So it's just kind of all part of our long-term plan for our property, and converting this ground from row crop over to a fully perennial regenerative system. And we're excited. We're really, really excited, and we're going at the pace of the bank account and the cattle, but that's okay. We got a lot of learning to do. I can't say if God blessed us with everything we wanted right now, I'm not so sure we'd be ready for it. I think we got a lot more learning to do, but we love doing it. I hate seeing all this bare stuff out here, all this bare ground, but that's going to change soon. It's going to change soon. This is going to be very lush, just like it is right over there, straight across. There's no reason this can't be the exact same. I can't riddle to you why it's not yet, but it's not. So we're getting there, man. We're getting there. Animal impact, it's going to do its thing. We're going to manage them right, and we're going to get there. So yeah, thanks for following along.